Welcome, climate viewers. My name is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News. It is January 22nd, 2017, and we're going to talk about something fancy today, Aquatrails. Ooh, Aquatrails. I hate that term. I already hate it, but let's do this anyway. Apparently, everybody's having a real fuss about this chemtrails of the ocean. Government launches new toxic aquatrails. Now, this is originally posted in October of 2016, but for some reason it's getting a lot of shares lately. And I shared it on my wall because it does mention marine cloud brightening, which is pretty interesting. But let's just break this thing down so we can get to the bottom of what all they're talking about here, because it's kind of convoluted. Okay, so chemtrails of the ocean, government launches new toxic aquatrails. Now, I see a cloud, and then I see a prop, and then I see a line on the water. And I'm going, huh? So we start out, he says, marine cloud brightening is part of a broader concept known as geoengineering, which encompasses efforts to manage, and manipulate the environment. Brightening the sky is controversial. So, and then they show a photo of ship tracks. And if you're not familiar with ship tracks, I'll just hop over here to weathermodificationhistory.com. I got a great little video. They look like this. They move like that. And they basically, they're what chemtrails wish they could grow up to be. They're way bigger. Many videos of that, but in a nutshell, they are clouds that are made by pollution from ships. And that's a bad thing. So that's what they've got going on here. These are ship tracks, and you can see those every day at climateviewer.org on ClimateViewer 3D. Just bring up the satellite and look at them. They're pretty horrible. And then it says right here, Neon Nettle reports. So I'm going to go ahead and just hop over there. So let's go to the who wrote it originally. October 2016. Again, Chemtrails of the Ocean, same title. And we're moving down through this thing now and trying to get to the bottom of it. All right. So they start talking about bioaccumulation of toxicants and stuff. And then I hit another one, Hard Drawn reports. Oh, hell, now I got to go over and find that. So this is the actual original article. All right, now we're to the bottom of this. And what we see, aquatrails, harmless backsplash or deadly chemtrails of the sea. And this is sans marine cloud brightening at all. I read the whole thing. And it's specifically talking about this plume. So this is probably a real issue, leaching, poison coming from boats. That's a real thing. But when I'm looking at this photo in particular, it reminds me very specifically of one thing, and that's iron fertilization. But we'll get to that in a minute. So let's back up. Let's just take it all for what it is. Okay, so we had a guy who wrote a paper about pollution, quotes Jacques Cousteau, and says that, we have, pollution coming up behind boats, prop wash versus aquatrails. I hate the term already, and it says at the left, wake behind a normal boat, wake breaks and blah, blah, blah. Photo on the right, taken by Aquatrails activist, displays a far longer trail that hangs atop the water, an engineered canopy of brown chemicals. The froth is thicker, richer, and does not follow any of the commonly known Kevlin wake patterns. Okay. So, this is chemtrails of the ocean underwater is what this article is saying. And okay, so are we trying to revisit the whole idea that there's a secret government program to poison the entire ocean and somebody's found it magically in these trails? Or is what we know to be true, the shipping industry is a very dirty industry that has no regulations on it whatsoever, just like the airline industry. And that's a bad thing. So it says what chemicals are industrial and military ships intentionally dumping into our seas. So once again, just like with chemtrails, aquatrails implies intent. So the idea is that somebody is intentionally putting chemicals out the back of boats now. And here you go. Now I'm not going to draw any more attention to this anymore because it is a conspiracy theory. Now, many conspiracy theories are true, but we're going to focus on what we do know today. So on the other article, And even before this, let's go to the very first one, the one that's getting shared on my wall right now. They specifically talk about marine cloud brightening. Now, marine cloud brightening is a thing. It is geoengineering. Hello to everybody in the chat room. I am actually watching the chat room today, so I figured it out. So marine cloud brightening is a thing. It is something to be concerned about. I first complained to the people who proposed marine cloud brightening back in 2012. And their names are John Latham and Stephen Salter. Now, the two of these guys have come up with a boat, which I will show you in just a second, that they say will take sea salt and spray it into clouds to make them whiter. And if they spray that salt into the clouds and brighten them, that it'll block more sunlight. It'll reflect more sunlight back to space, which will cool the planet. And, it says, but in some cases, ship trails make clouds darker. We don't really know why that is, Wood said. And the bottom line is they really don't understand cloud aerosol interaction at all. None of these climate scientists. And you could see that they did mention University of Leeds, Edinburgh, Pacific Northwest National Lab, and John Latham in this paper. So big ups to them, for at least including this marine cloud brightening thing in this article and actually mentioning some names. I mean, this is rare form. I'm impressed. Color me impressed. But let's really break it down. What this John Latham and the University of Leeds, Edinburgh, and the Pacific Northwest National Lab are up to. So for that, I'm going to just hop over here to ClimateViewer.com. And the article is Geoengineering Programs and Weather Modification Experiments. I posted this in 2013, as you can see there, October 6th, about 3 days away in 3 years from that article. And you can see I'm going to scroll down through this pretty quickly that Bill Gates funds a lot of this stuff. And here's some patents. And on these patents, what you're going to see is Bill Gates and the world's top geoengineering research collaborate on patents for hurricane protection for cash. And what I want to point out to you is that on this patent, 8348550, Bill Gates, Ken Caldera, Stephen Salter, and John Latham, along with the patent troll Nathan Mervold, and then I won't get into Lowell Wood and Roderick Hyde, but that's for you guys who are in the know. Those names will ring a bell. All these guys got together to come up with water alteration structure and system having a heat transfer conduit, a patent to steer hurricanes and make money off of it. And there were a whole bunch of them that they worked together on. But my point is, the guys who came up with this, Stephen Salter and John Latham, also want to steer hurricanes and went to the Department of Homeland Security's Hurricane Modification Workshop, which you can see here. Yes. And I'll get that to load up real quick. And I'll scroll to the bottom of it. So this is a real thing as well. The Hurricane Modification Workshop right there. This happened in 2008, and I'll go all the way to the bottom. There's John Latham right there talking about his boats. And I think maybe, this video contains copyrighted by BBC. They don't want you to see it. We'll just move along. So down here at the very bottom, you can see a photo. And there they are. John Latham's right up here, number 16. And where's Stephen Salter? Isn't that him, number 11? Yep, number 11. Dr. Stephen Salter, and 16, Dr. John Latham. This is them at the Hurricane Modification Workshop. These are the guys that came up with this marine cloud brightening project. How do I know that? Because I do my homework. This is called the Silver Lining Project, Cloud Making Boats, Ocean Pumps to Halt Hurricanes. And you click here. Before we get into this, because this is going to be the rest of the video, down here, does this look familiar to the Aquatrails photo? This is something called ocean iron fertilization. This is another form of geoengineering, wherein a guy named Russ George, who is now forever known as the rogue geoengineer, he decided to dump iron in the ocean to save fish, capture carbon. So the idea was, and there's a lot of articles on this, world's biggest geoengineering experiment violates UN rules. And the list goes on. Rogue geoengineering scheme in Pacific violated UN rules, group say. So this dude went and did it. I got a photo here. You could actually see this green glow is phytoplankton, which is a growth from the iron being dumped. And the plankton eat the CO2 and blah, blah, blah. But regardless, I don't want to get too technical, but if you want to get into this stuff, all the information's here. There's more articles than you could shake a stick at. And these were gathered together by the etc. group, ETC group, who raised a real stink about it. Big ups to Jim Thomas and the boys over there. But in a nutshell, that photo that we saw earlier, this Aquatrails photo, look at that green. Is that a big rusty boat? I mean, is it rusting? No, there's no possibility that the rust, because we can see here, and I'm just thinking out loud, the photos, you can see that. I think I've got some more photos down here. No, they're at the top. But you can see in the photo, they're dumping come on, get it up there. This is a very, very, very large photo, and it should never be used at the top of an article. Let's just open it in a new window. View image. You're shooting me in the face. Let me hack this code real quick because you're annoying me. Derp, derp. All right, very big photo. So what you can see is they were dumping iron off the back of a boat. And this is a photo of the Haida Salmon project when they were doing it. And I'm going to scroll down here as soon as it gets fully loaded. Very, very big picture. All right. And you can see these are big bags of rust. See? Standard ferrous iron. Ferrous sulfate. There you go. So those are bags of rust. They dumped them in the ocean. It made algae grow. And that's the Aquatrails debacle. But anyway, let's move along. So the Silver Lining Project, this is the boat. This is the Marine Cloud Brightening Project. It's been renamed. Now, originally, it was called the Silver Lining Project. And I found this on a website that was deleted from the internet. Lucky me. All right, so I'll just go to that just so everybody knows I'm not making this crap up. And we'll get archive.org to dig it up from the grave. And you can see here, silverliningproj.org index. And it says Silver Lining Project. The Silver Lining Project is a not-for-profit international scientific research collaboration to study the effects of particles, aerosols, on clouds and the influence of these cloud effects on climate systems. Now, that sounds so benign and generic. Does that sound like geoengineering to any of you? It doesn't. But then you go to the collaborator section, and you see that this is carried out by the distinguished scientists and engineers at Manchester University, Leeds, NCAR, we'll get to that in a second, Pacific Northwest National Labs, Purdue University, University of Washington, and the University of Edinburgh. So they got, Leeds, Edinburgh, and Pacific Northwest National Lab. That was pretty darn close, right? I mean, you got to give it up to them. I mean, at least they got that. But you look at this and you see that, and I just put it all here together, that this is a very large group here of people who are all committed to this idea of making autonomous robot boats that can geoengineer clouds in the ocean. It's a real thing. And I'm going to go down here. So I have 4 different YouTube videos on this. Aerosol cloud precipitation interactions with controlled seawater spray. You can see right here, testing sea salt injections into the marine stratocumulus as a geoengineering option. And this is by Robert Wood, the one that they were mentioning in this article when they were mentioning Wood. And that's at the University of Washington, Seattle. So these guys all together have come up with this idea for this boat. Looks like this. And this is the schematic. Now, you're not going to find this on any other website but ClimateViewer.com. But this is the inside of the boat. And I think this looks like a person right here about the size. See, they got a little man there to show you to scale. Now, they haven't actually built this boat. I mean, the last time I talked to Steven, I talked to Steven Salter 2 years ago. So the last time I talked to him, they had not built this. And I'm totally down. I'm going to check your channel out, brother. My Sky 5D. I'll check it out. Yeah. So this boat is a concept. They haven't built it, but they've done actual experiments already on this topic. So let me get over here, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of searching. I was late for the show today, guys. I ended up poning Mick West on a barium thing, and I was just reveling in it. And I came to the show late, so you're gonna have to bear with me. It's not every day that you get to rub Mick West's face and poo. And I haven't done it in quite a while, so I took a lot of pleasure in it. But let's see if we can find this thing real quick. So SRM experiments. Let's see if that'll get us there. And I believe it will. It did. So let's go there. And this is Chemtrails Explain the Geoengineering SRM Field Experiment. And it's a very, very long. I tend to make these articles way too long. I'm working on that. I'm trying to shorten all this up so you guys don't have to read so damn much. But regardless, these are actual geoengineering field experiments. Now, we all know that Mr. Stonely, why'd you leave brain food? Why'd you leave brain food? Shut up, Stone. So the number one field experiment on studying solar radiation passing through aerosol layers, Israel et al. 2009. And this is basically, they had a guy, you can see right here, they had a truck and they sprayed some aerosols and they got a photometer and they said, how much sun did we block? Pretty redneck experiment, but that's how geoengineering works. You want to block sunlight, you better measure it. So this is an experiment where they did that. And then you can see here a Hind helicopter. This was done in Russia. Field experiment on studying solar radiation. And it says here, aerosol generators installed on a helicopter and car chassis. Boy, that's a horrible photo, but it's the only one I got. So now we are to the EPEACE, Eastern Pacific Emitted Aerosol Cloud Experiment. This is an actual ship track, marine cloud brightening, cloud albedo modification experiment, where they are testing this idea that John Latham and Steven Salter came up with, this boat. So this test is called EPEACE, and you can see here, they had the CIRPAS Twin Otter helicopter or airplane. They had the GOES A-Train satellite measuring this stuff, and they had the RV Pointser boat releasing chemicals into the air that they were trying to make clouds with, and then they measured the mixing of them and how it affected cloud reflectance. So this is geoengineering ship tracks. Okay, you can see here is where they did the experiment. This is Marina, California, and you can see that they did it right over here off the coast. So there's a bunch of lines, which is pretty much where we see ship tracks all the time anyway. So why would you know any difference? You know, unless you were out there. And then here is actual photographs of it. Look at these poor fools right here down there in the smoke generators. So this is them creating the smoke, which kind of looks like the photo in the original article. I mean, this is a natural natural pollution ship track in this first photo. And over here is, you know, NASA and the boys and the Silver Lining guys doing it in real life, you know, on purpose, trying to make clouds that'll cool the planet. So that's what I'm trying to get at is this, you know, with this EPEACE, the Silver Lining Project, and this boat, it's a real thing. They are trying to geoengineer ship tracks. They want to be able to make ship tracks that they can control. And this isn't going away anytime soon because, let's see here, you can see that they have now made a new website, the marinecloudbrighteningproject.org. And this was also not mentioned in that article, so I wanted to bring that to your attention. John Latham, the boys, and everybody else apparently who's piling in on this idea are right over here. And you can read all about it at mcbproject.org. I suggest that everybody get info from them at info@mcbproject.org and ask them, do you really think it's a good idea to create a whole bunch of robot boats that are going to create clouds to geoengineer the planet? Do you really think we should be involved in this? And this guy, Phil Roche, chief scientist for the Climate Science Pacific Northwest National Lab, is also big time geoengineer. So, I mean, the more I look into this, the more I don't like it. I don't think it's cool to be, spraying a bunch of salt into clouds to begin with. I wonder what that's going to do to the rainfall in California when a whole bunch of salt clouds come overhead. Could that possibly affect trees and vegetation? I think so. Are they doing it already? Well, they're definitely experimenting on it. They've already done the e-piece that was done in 2011. Today, they're trying to get a new one called the SPICE project, Stratospheric Particle Injection for Climate Engineering. They're trying to revive that. Now, ETC Group did block that. While everybody else was talking about, stopping geoengineering, ETC Group has actually done that. And they stopped this SPICE project where they were going to use this balloon and this spray to go make some clouds. They stopped it. But does that mean that they're not going to do it the next time when they're already doing things like e-piece and, basically coming up with any way they can to make some kind of solar radiation, sun shield. They will stop at nothing to get their solar shield, because at the end of the day, and we're just going to throw all this stuff away now and really just talk about, the idea behind all this. Julian Huxley said that we needed 2 degrees of warming to really get to the oil at the North Pole. And there's been many different references. You can see them on weathermodificationhistory.com to people wanting to melt the poles. And they pretty much said straight up, we need 2 degrees of warming to do it. And then, interestingly enough, at COP21, they didn't say that they want 2 degrees of warming. They said, we want to limit it to 2 degrees of warming. So in the end, everything that these, geoengineering advocates, everything that COP21 is saying, everything that the oil barons were saying for 100 years is all the same thing. We would like the planet to heat by 2 degrees, nothing more, nothing less. And you have to ask yourself why. And the reason why is because they want the Arctic natural gas. There are things like the ANGELS program proposed by AMEG, the Arctic Methane Emergency Group. And these guys will say that we're all going to die from methane coming out of the North Pole if we don't get up there and A, geoengineer now, and B, frack the North Pole. So is it a coincidence that the same people who say protect the environment, no drilling in the Arctic, are in a Cold War with Russia over Arctic oil right now? You can go Google it. The new Cold War, Arctic oil. Google it. Anyone of you. So what I'm trying to make the point here is that these guys, these technocrats scientifically want to control our environment. They do want it to heat by 2 degrees. They have said that they have known that it will heat by 2 degrees multiple times in the past. I have a paper from 1962 where they said just the stratospheric water vapor from jet aircraft will heat the planet by 1.5 degrees Celsius. Just the water vapor. And it was in a NASA climate modification paper from 1962. Stratospheric water vapor from planes and jet aircraft will heat the planet by 1.5 degrees Celsius. So they nuked the Arctic. They've done everything they can to try to heat the Arctic up. They claim that it is heating now. And then they also say at the same time, we don't want it to heat up by more than 2 degrees. So at the end of the day, everybody agrees they want to melt the Arctic, but they're just not saying it in public. And these guys are making boats that will allow them once they get their heating achieved, like an automatic AC in your house, to shut off that heating at that point, because we're good. We got to 2 degrees. We got what we wanted. And of course, if you talk to any climate scientist, they'll say that I'm full of shit. Oh, that's just idiotic. Who would actually want it to heat? Do you know what it will mean if we get 2 degrees of heating? Do you understand? What's up, Robert? Seriously, do you understand the ramifications of what that'll mean? Yes, I do. And so do the people who have been saying for 100 years they want to melt the freaking poles so they can get to the vast oil and gas there. So boats like Marine Cloud Brightening Project, hoses to the sky like the Strato Shield that Bill Gates has, all of these different proposals are just insanity. It's our just unbelievable hubris that we could control everything down to the finite, that we could actually stop the planet from heating up if it wanted to. If the universe and the solar system decided that this planet's going to heat up, it's going to heat up. And, for them to not account for clouds, for them to not account for solar cycles, for them not account for galactic cosmic rays and how cloud formation, they don't understand anything about clouds to this day, yet they experiment on them every single day in hopes that they can control the climate. They have failed to control anything for the last 60 years of them doing it. So at this point, I'd like to see some hands off, like a lot of you. And I'd like to see a little more transparency. And, a lot of this stuff, like this website, is about transparency, but it really isn't. Because at the end of the day, there are all of these research papers where they have gone to the public and they have said, hey, if we could control the climate and we could cool the planet off by spraying chemicals in the sky, what do you think about that? People always come back and say that's crazy. I would never want that. And the reason why is because people are not to be trusted with the power of God. I don't trust people, and I don't think that there's anybody in my family or myself that I would trust with the climate control joystick. And I think that that's something that resonates with everybody in this room, in the shot of my voice. And that's something that people really need to grab a hold of, especially if you are a Christian. If you're a religious person, you probably will look at this a little differently than other people. But in this world, we have destroyed the rivers, we've destroyed the woods. I see it. I walk the woods, I walk the canals, and I can barely walk without cutting my feet from the glass and the trash. And the sky, yes, industry poops in it every single day, but for God's sake, the weather was supposed to be the one thing that was natural. It was the only thing left in the whole fucking planet that was nature. And then I found out that no, that too is fought over daily with cloud seeders and geoengineers. And that's the moment where I said enough is enough, that this kind of stuff is not acceptable. And when I think these kinds of thoughts, and then I read papers about Aquatrails, it's just so cheap. And it's so beneath the movement to try to coin terminology to get a click or, to get somebody to love you for a day, to like your stupid post. Nothing, exactly. Weather Mafia said it. Nothing is sacred. I mean, for these people, the technocrats, they have this scientific ideology that they are God and that everything is within their control if they just understand it enough, and they never stop to ask themselves, should they? So really what I want to impart to you guys today is that this for me personally is isn't a question of should we. It's why are we? And you know that this will lead to military control. And that all of these scientists are spending all day long designing systems that will be militarized, that will be turned into weapons. So for me, I'm offended by marine cloud brightening. I'm offended by any process that would dump chemicals or use electromagnetic radiation or use any method possible to control weather and climate directly in a direct fashion. I oppose technocrats controlling weather and climate. Now, if it means you can paint your rooftop white and it'll block a little more sunlight and send it back out, I'm okay with that. If it means you guys sucking CO2 out of the air and pumping it into the ground, I'm more okay with that than you spraying chemicals. But let's be clear, pumping chemicals in the ground will result in earthquakes just like fracking. You're crazy. So you can go ahead and do some CO2 sequestration, but please do it on an island far from me. But every single one of these aerosol-based geoengineering proposals should be made illegal. They should be banned worldwide, permanently, henceforth. Because no matter how many times David Keith's psychopathic ass comes up with a new way, it's calcium. Now, did you read this shit lately? Calcium, a new safer way to geoengineer the sky without all of the side effects. Calcium. So it went from aluminum oxide and titanium oxide to sulfur and sulfuric acid to diamond dust. Lots of that on ClimateViewer.com. Check out Project Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. To diamond dust. To now, well, shit, we'll use calcium. It's safe. But I have to breathe it, prick. And that's where a lot of us are at. I don't care what you say. A, I got to breathe it. B, it will have uncontrolled effects on rainfall worldwide. C, I don't care how you pay the dead people, because that's all they're arguing about right now in these geoengineering governance websites that are popping up everywhere. There's like this new religion of geoengineering lobbyists who are writing all of these international laws on how to deal with the dead people caused by geoengineering. You cannot make this shit up. And these sycophants are just jumping on it like, like flies on shit, because that's how they make their money. I'm going to get paid to write these laws, and that's how I make my money. What can I do? That's what I'm doing. Instead of stopping to think, should we be doing this at all? I mean, the law should be real simple. No practice which alters weather should take place that is intentional. And of course, volcanoes affect weather. There are lots of natural things that affect weather severely. But when you get to the point where a travel company saying for 100,000 euros, we'll make your sky cloud free on your wedding day, to insurance companies saying we will guarantee no hail will fall on your corn crops. And then suddenly we're seeing hail mitigation cloud seeding projects that are turning out hailstones big as freaking basketballs. The same process that is used to make rain, cloud seeding, is used to make hail go away. Does that make sense to anybody? So they put more seeds into the clouds, hoping that they will attach. They cloud seed a hailstorm, hoping that they will make the hail smaller so that it doesn't damage corn crops. And then when we see videos, like being linked in chat right now, probably, of these basketball size hail, no, of course, they're never going to mention, well, we were up there seeding to try to make the, everybody calls it ice nucleation is the freaking term of the day. But for God's sakes, it's, it's so cheesy sounding. I don't know. It turns me off. I'm just saying, I'm a weather modification expert. I've been doing this 6 years. I know everything there is to know about the subject, and I find out new stuff every day. But regardless, the term ice nucleation is just so cheesed out, like it's overused. Artificial ice nucleation. You know who he who shall not be mentioned likes to use that fear porn terminology, and ice nucleation has just suddenly become part of his lexicon, and I don't get it, but don't fall into that trap. That's all I'm saying. All ice nucleation is cloud seeding. That's what there's a seed, water sticks to it, it nucleates to it. The nucleus is the cloud condensation nuclei. Okay. So we want to get scientific, and you really want to sound scientific, use this term, cloud condensation nuclei, or CCN. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. When people talk about chemtrails, they say, oh, it's just water vapor. No, jackass. It's water vapor and what? A cloud condensation nuclei is also known as a cloud seed. Okay? So the simple version, the redneck version, is cloud seeds. The seed is what's at the middle of the nucleated ice crystal. And that's what everything's stuck to. It nucleates on it. So I'm not picking on you, dude. I'm just like, that term really, language is powerful, and it really shapes how people see what you're talking about. And you got to keep it as simple as possible. But Edith Kinsey says nucleation is what the U.S. is experiencing winter this year. What I would say, and let's do this real quick. Let me bring this bad boy up. We can do some ClimateViewer 3D because I want to throw one at you about nucleation while I'm on the subject, because I've totally got off on a rant, but it's fun. So the thing about nucleation is that every single year in America, we have these cloud seeding generators. All right. And I'm going to share my screen. And this is over on climateviewer.org/3D. Right, sure. All right. So what we got is over here under geoengineering, you've got the Wyoming Weather Modification Pilot Program cloud seeding generators, which I will turn on for you now. And you can see them here. I think the pictures aren't working in it right now. Yeah, they're not working in it right now. But you can see the references where I got this from. It's from state.wyoming.us/weathermod, weathermod pilot program, executive summary.html. Let's see if that file's still there. Amazing. It's still there. I put everything on archive.org, but just so you guys can follow along, you see what the hell I'm talking about. All right. So these are real things I'm talking about. This is what a cloud seeding generator looks like. You can see it right here. Can I zoom in on that? There you go. See that thing? So what you got, excuse me, is a solar panel, which powers this. You got a liquid propane fire that burns a chunk of silver iodide that shoots it up into the air. These are ground-based cloud seeding generators. Okay, I think there's another one right there to scale. You can see, here's the huge propane tank. See? Anybody's ever had a, trailer, seen these behind the house, big propane tank? That's what they use. And the silver iodide's up in here. It gets pumped up to there. They burn it. It goes in the air. So these are the generators. Now, these are very hard to find. This stuff I'm looking for, because I've been trying to find these generators forever, and I actually found a map. So everybody knows I'm not crazy. Seeding generators are the triangles. Boom, 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 boom. And over here on the Wind River Range, boom, 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 boom. So I had to go over here and find them by doing this. This was not easy, but I did. So there's the ones around that range, and here's the ones around the other mountain range. But yeah, so I'm going to show you them all real quick. Let me turn it back because it's easier to see. So these are cloud seeding generators just for this state. Here's the Central Colorado Rocky Mountain program. We'll turn that on. They are right next door, and you can see them here. Then we have the Grand Mesa, Colorado cloud seeding project, which is right over here. Then we have the Humboldt River Basin cloud seeding generators over here. That's a bunch of them. Carson Walker Basin cloud seeding generators. also here. Santa Barbara, California, cloud seeding generators over here. And the Idaho Power Company cloud seeding generators up here. And these are flights over here. So if you're wondering what these red lines are, these are flight paths, but the pins are the cloud seeding generators that are on the ground. So when I zoom out, what do you see? Come on, somebody in the chat room. I want to hear it right here. Come on, don't be scared. I want to hear it. Is artificial ice nucleation have anything to do with cloud seeding generators on the West Coast that are strewn all across the damn thing? Come on, you can do it. Somebody say it. You're right, Jim. Anyway, so this is the point I'm trying to make to you. This is the scale of the cloud seeding generators that I've found so far. Why does this matter? Because I made a Google Fusion table. And on this Google Fusion table, I found the actual weather modification reports from NOAA from 2004 to 2012, which you can see them here. I'll just turn on one like right in the middle. Bam. Let's turn that on. It's kind of a big file. There you go. And you can see that it's got, precipitation down here in Texas all the way up to, North Dakota Cloud Modification Project ran from June to September, 23 days. They used 41,000 pounds of CO2. Dry ice. Yeah. So Weather Modification Incorporated did that, and the North Dakota Atmospheric Resource Board paid for it, and the reason they did was for precipitation enhancement. Dry ice to make it rain up in Colorado. So my point is, what I learned about these cloud seeding generators right here, they go all the way across the Rockies, all the way across the entire West Coast. They are not on the East Coast. All the flooding on the East Coast comes from all of the weather modification on the West Coast. So I could turn a couple more of these on just so you can see how bad it is. But the list goes on with these projects. They happen every year. But what you find out is that every single year, and this is the Google Fusion table that puts them all together, did the ground-based cloud seeders operate from October to March every single year. So that means right now, every single major storm going through the West Coast, and you can see them all right here. This one says Lake Alomar snowpack augmentation, paid for by PG&E, for all you guys out in California, Pacific Gas and Electric Company. They have their own snowpack augmentation generators, aka ground-based cloud seeders, and that's Lake Alomar, and it says January to April, January to May, January to May, January to April, January to April. A lot of these snowpack augmentation things run at least from January to March, April, sometimes into May, but most of them run like this, October to December. So, in generally speaking, October to March, April, May at the latest, the winter time, they try to cover the entire mountain, the entire Rocky Mountains with snow, because they want that snow melt the next year to give water to the West Coast, which never has enough water because of fracking. Let's not go there. But anyway, if you just do a look at fracking, you'll know why they have to do all this. So all of the weather modification happens on the West Coast because of fracking, because they don't have enough water. And this is a huge file. I hope my show doesn't crash. Did we do it? Are we still live? Did we blow up? Somebody in the chat room, let me know I'm alive. So what you end up with is no fracking way, right? All the fracking, see, here's the cloud seeding projects in Texas, and there's all the wells and the fracking. Now, fracking uses millions and millions and millions of gallons of water and spits out a whole lot of radioactive water when it's done. So what you end up with is you need cloud seeding projects where you don't have water, and guess where you don't have water? Where you're fracking. I mean, is this a coincidence? This is what ClimateViewer 3D was designed to do. connect the dots. And what I see every year is that the droughts occur where the fracking is, and the weather modification occurs where the droughts and the fracking is. So that's why you have artificial ice nucleation going on every year in the winter, is because, let me try to remove that. These fracking wells have, put this water strain on the West Coast, which is already strained. They pay for weather modification in all of the same locations that they frack. And these generators that you're seeing on these pins are running from October to March, April, May every year. So the floods over here on the West Coast, they're caused, at least in part, by the weather modification on the West Coast. Did I say that backwards? The storms are right here, and you can see right now. Look at this. This is the flood coming in. You can see that it's passing right through all those cloud seeding generators. Look at that. Holy shit, that even lines up right there. That's pretty amazing. Anybody getting this stuff? Because I hope that this video will make some sense for you. So what I'm trying to say here is that all of these artificial storms that people claim that they're being done by the chemtrails or the this or that. Yes, chemtrails are definitely gonna modify weather, but this is people who pay to modify the damn weather, and they do it from October to March every single year. And you can see right now on this map right in front of you the NEXRAD radar on with the cloud seeding generators, them passing through there. Look right over here. Oh, that's amazing, right? Right down to the cloud seeding generators over here. They know where the water normally comes in. They want to take advantage of it. It's called snowpack augmentation. One more time for everybody at home. You can see that on the NOAA reports from the government, which I've compiled these. This was last edited in 2015, but I originally put this up. Now this is the one for 2015. I had another one from 2012, but we took it down. So regardless, snowpack augmentation all the way there. Snowpack augmentation, Mud Lake water users paid for it. Water District 34 pays for a snowpack augmentation. It's fascinating when you look at who pays for it. Los Angeles Department of Water and Power paid Atmospherics Incorporated to do precipitation enhancement in the Eastern Sierra Nevada, January through December 2004. So that's the whole year. It just says January to December 2004, whole year. So I think that we should probably sum this up. My point originally was just to talk about this Aquatrails and how I already hate the term, to kind of give some context to some of the stuff that they were talking about. Yes, pollution is a problem. Pollution coming from international shipping boats is a serious problem. There really aren't a lot of laws to protect us from them. And they said that 12 of those boats emit more CO2 than every single car on the planet. So if you're so upset about CO2, sink those 16 ships and let's call it a day. Chemtrails of the sea, ship tracks are a problem. They have been a problem for 60 years. Geoengineers are now seeking to intentionally make ship tracks and or take advantage of the ones that are already there. To do that, they say they want to use relax the ban on bunker fuel. Okay? Bunker fuel. And to do that, it will create more clouds, which might cool the planet more. And finally, the Stephen Salter, John Latham Silver Lining Project, which you can read all about that over here on ClimateViewer.com. The article is The Silver Lining Project, Cloud Making Boats, Ocean Pumps to Halt Hurricanes. The other article is Geoengineering Programs and Weather Modification Experiments. I hope that you will all check out weathermodificationhistory.com, which is my latest project with Dominic Marama. I'm going to have him on in the future in some new shows. just wanted to so you guys know, when you come over here to the timeline, this is the website. You come down here, there is a timeline starts right here. If you click on the filter, you can actually, you're only showing 20 entries right now. You can hit show all and it'll put them all on there, but you can hit artificial clouds. It'll only show you articles related to chemtrails and ship tracks. You can hit space weather and it will only show you articles related to HARP and lasers and Lucy in the sky with diamonds. So guys, check this thing out. It's over at weathermodificationhistory.com. Again, ClimateViewer 3D is at climateviewer.org/3D. I'll try to put some links to this in the details. And at the end of this, I just want to give a personal note. I take care of my grandmother with Alzheimer's. I have a 6-month-old daughter and a 7-year-old daughter and a beautiful wife who is my rock and my backbone. And she has had my back for 6 years of this stuff. And I don't move at the same speed as a lot of people on YouTube because, my family is important to me. And I try very hard over the years to be able to continue to do what I love in talking about this stuff, because I don't see anybody else talking about it at the level that I am. And I hope that I can really elevate the discussion through doing these talks. I'm going to do them every Sunday. I may not be right on the money when I get up here. When I say 3 o'clock, please bear with me, if I'm a little late, because I do have a family and a lot of responsibility. But I love what I do, and I love you guys for showing up. And I hope that you guys will spread this around, because we really need to get people to grow up so that we can deal with problems of geoengineering, weather modification, chemtrails. All of these issues need to be dealt with, but they need to be dealt with a freaking just act like grown-ups about it. You know what I mean? And I really want to see that from this point forward. And if I have to do this myself, I'm going to do it myself by pushing back against people who don't want to grow up. But I'd rather us stay positive and focus on, us, getting this information out to people so that they, really can do something about it, and getting past the fear porn and the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and the slave speak of the YouTube, bullshit-averse, that there's so many people who look to take advantage of you. I don't want to be one of them. I want us to really elevate this discussion. So tune in next Sunday. I'll be back. We'll do this again, and I'll probably have a guest. As you guys may have noticed, the first 3 episodes I had guests, because I know a lot of people. I've met a lot of good people, and I want to shine a light on them as opposed to focusing on the negative and talking about the people that I really wish would go away. So in doing that, I'm going to bring on people to the show that, I hope that you guys will follow as well, because I follow them. So I think we covered a lot today, and I think this is an awesome video. I hope you guys will share it around, and unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Love you, mean it. See you next week.